Hey everybody, Tony Beers here again, and I'm joined by
Ross
and Jay.
And this is Movie Grades, and in this episode of Movie Grades, we're going to be talking about the live-action Wonder Woman movie. Okay, we'll start with you, Russell, see what you thought about it.
Well, first of all, I thought Gal Gadot, she was fantastic. This is... thank God Zack Snyder didn't direct this. Patty Jenkins did. And I think she did a tremendous job. It was not... I mean, this one was one that even DC went in saying, oh, we're not sure how to pull this off. Well, clearly Patty Jenkins did, because they knew where to keep the focus. They really made her a relatable character. I know it didn't exactly gel with her origin regarding World War II, but in my opinion, they chose, considering this the way they told the story, they chose a more ambiguous war, technically, World War I, which I think was an excellent move. And the thing is, her secondary characters, she plays off them well, especially Steve Trevor, played by Chris Pine. In general, I thought this was a massive step in the right direction for DC. Was it perfect? No, but I mean, look, ever since we saw Batman v Henry Cavill, as I've mentioned in another review, everyone was saying, "Oh God, I don't think Gal Gadot's gonna do well." And I said, "I think she's gonna do fine." I mean, the first movie I knew about her in was Fast and the Furious, and I said, "You've come a long way, girl." And she did. She was one of the few things that was actually good about that movie, and she really showed here what she could do. Love you, Gal. Love you. You guys?
Jay?
What I thought about the movie, I really enjoyed it. Very much so. It was good. I feel like DC still has to go leaps and bounds. Yeah, pun intended. To catch up to Marvel, if they're ever catch up to Marvel. But I feel like they're going in the right direction. I hope they continue this trend. We'll see how Justice League does later this year. I really enjoyed Wonder Woman. It was a nice origin story. I enjoyed at the beginning when she was like a little girl and she was so ambitious to fight, and her mother didn't want her to, and eventually she had to fight.
Queen Hippolyta is telling Diana about the story of the history of what happened with all the gods.
Yeah.
What I loved about that in the beginning was it reminded me of one of the works from, you may have heard of Pageants of the Masters, and if you're wondering what that is, it's basically when actors basically recreate a painting or some kind of a work of art. To me, it was very similar to that style when they were telling the story of that battle. Tony said he would have preferred to see a live-action thing, but I love the way they did this. I really did. I won't lie.
Well, I'll elaborate on that a little bit and say that, yeah, I would prefer a live-action...
of that battle scene?
Of what he was describing when Queen Hippolyta was telling the story of Zeus and Ares and stuff like that. She was also telling Diana about how she was sculpted in clay and all like that, and they didn't even show anything during that scene. She was just kind of telling that to her. They weren't even showing what you described, the painting or whatever. That's what I would like to have seen that as well, done in live action.
Okay.
You know, it's an old saying that goes in film. They say, "Show, don't tell." You know,
so she goes to the training, and then you see her as an adult, and beforehand, there's this it was like a temple or something where all these the God Slayer is, the God Killer, whatever they call it, the lasso of truce, and all these other artifacts that they used, that they collected from the gods, and it was really cool to see that. And the island, the visual of the island was really, I liked a lot. It was really well done. You would think they would have had a documentation of this place on a map or something, unless it was just in the sea or something, which is what it was, an island, so I guess it works in a way. But the thing is,
they didn't have any documentation because it was, no one knew it was there.
Exactly, it was part of the sea. It was part of the sea.
Yeah.
It was just the sea. So,
but it is strange though that since
nobody has come through until now, and
there's that scene where you mentioned that she she goes into that tower and climbs up the tower and grabs all the stuff and
Yeah.
I didn't like that only because one a big part of Wonder Woman's origin is that she to get to she has to win her way a contest to get
these artifacts.
To get the artifacts to get the right to take Steve Trevor back to man's world. There was a in the early comics they called it bullets and bracelets, a competition,
trials.
Yeah, and I would have preferred to have seen that than just to see her jump into a building and steal that artifact.
I do remember this movie was like 2 hours long. You would have had a lot more to the movie. I mean, it would have made more interesting. But then we get to the middle part of the movie, which I feel like a lot of the middle was, I'm going to say this, was a lot of filler. I mean, there were parts, I like the part where I like one scene where she's with the generals and she says, our generals fight in our wars. And I really like that. And one of the generals did, and we find out eventually at the end who that person is. But a lot of the middle, and there was this one character called Chief. I was like, are they talking? Is this gonna be like Apache Chief or something? Were you thinking that? Were you guys thinking about that?
No, I wasn't.
I knew that there was a Native American in the movie, and so when they said Chief, I'm like, okay, that must be him.
I like the Scottish guy. I like the Arabian guy, but go.
I will interrupt to say, like the chief, he was the worst actor in this movie. But but go ahead.
But I think it picked up at the end. They were talking about these two Germans, Dr. Poison, and who was the other? Ludendorff, and they were trying to make Ludendorff the antagonist. Well, she was the antagonist. Yeah. And he was taking this drug that Dr. Poison was making for him, and but she got and she probably got the recipe from probably from
inspired by Ares, probably.
Ares or whoever the character he was playing. He did have a name, I just can't think of it right now. But yeah, and the guy who actually played Ares or the general, he was Remus Lupin in the Harry Potter films. I can't think of the actor's name. Tony, what are your thoughts of what you like getting to now? You finally sorry, I know you were talking a little bit. Go ahead.
But I liked it. I didn't love it though.
Definitely the right direction, right?
Yes, yeah. Russell said it perfectly. I said this online as well, that it's a step in the right direction. I even thought that, even though I didn't like it, I thought that Suicide Squad was also a step in the right direction. But this is a big leap in the right direction. It's much way better than Suicide Squad, and way better than Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman. One of the biggest differences is that in this movie, Wonder Woman actually she shows that she cares for the human beings. There's a point where she sees all the injuries, people are being injured and stuff like that, and she.
One thing I just want to bring up, and you don't need to be gritty to make a good movie. This one had some grittiness, but it wasn't like the previous three.
Right.
But Suicide Squad, I understand being gritty. That one makes sense to be gritty.
Because they're all bad guys.
Yeah, but Superman, you shouldn't think of him being a gritty character.
Exactly.
Batman, to an extent, but not Superman. And that's why I think one of the big downfalls of that movie. But keep going.
And the thing is too, and she did kill a lot of people in this movie too. But again, I can accept that because it's a war. Just like I can accept Captain America killing people when it's a war.
And the thing was, she didn't want to kill anybody.
No.
Because she was raised not to kill, but she...
Well, she wanted to kill Ares.
Well, but he's a god. But Steve Trevor even says, you're going to have to kill. It's just the way of what's going on. And I know she didn't like it, but she had to accept it.
So, like you said, it's not as gritty as the other ones, and... It's gritty.
It's funny.
In the right parts. There's funny.
It's funny because it's war, and war is usually supposed to be gritty too. Right. So that makes it even more funny.
But and there's humor in the movie. They have the great sequence where she's trying to get acclimated. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong to the modern world and dress correctly and all like this.
And I've heard this scene is like the moment that she becomes Wonder Woman, when she steps out of that trench and she deflects all that firepower while the rest of her squad finally goes in and is able to make an advance, which they said for over a year they had not been able to do. That is the moment, I think, where she truly comes into her own. And in fact, I was actually crying a bit when that scene came on. I was like, this is amazing. And everyone was like, yeah, that's the scene everyone wanted to see. And you know what? That's also what we've wanted to see Henry Cavill do as a certain Kryptonian, but clearly hasn't.
I think the Lasso of Truth was really well done, especially the scenes where I like the scene where they're in the embassy and he's going like. He just takes the lasso out. He just takes the lasso out and wraps it.
Well, she asks him, "How do I know I can trust you?"
And then he just goes ahead and he grabs the lasso and just ties it around his hands. And he goes and he just starts talking. And then she knows he's telling the truth. So that was a really good scene. And of course, any scene with the lasso was really well done. And
oh, speaking of all her gear and stuff, one thing that I'm missing personally is the invisible jet. I wanted to
give it time.
Maybe Justice League.
Yeah,
and didn't Batman make that for her or something? No.
It has many different origins. We'll say.
But the thing is, jets weren't really that advanced enough back then. So
you look at the plane.
But they explain it as it's the Amazonian technology.
Yeah.
So. Still give it some time.
So I'm sure we'll see it soon. Maybe in Justice League we'll see it. So the Lasso of Truth is really good. So let's finally move on to the ending of this movie. We have to talk about the ending because this one it's a good ending, but there's still some drawbacks to it, and we'll talk about Ares. Ares, I don't mind the actor they use for Ares. I mean, okay, maybe they want to get someone a little older, someone more advanced, someone more, someone who has more knowledgeable. But the one thing is, when he transformed into Ares, like there was times where if you didn't see him under the helmet, I like that because it was really weird to see this old guy. Remember Lupin Ramus. That's what you gotta think about. From Harry Potter. Think about that. He has the mustache like from Harry Potter.
Yeah.
It just looked like it just looked really odd. And I know Russell's wants to say something about what the character looks like.
All right. First of all. Look, I don't mind if he's, just disguising himself as an old general. Fine, I got no issue with that, okay? Perfectly fine with me. I know a lot of reviewers were even saying that they didn't like his big speech. Again, I didn't have a problem with that. It kind of reminded me of when you hear, a few Disney villains talk, and I was fine with that. What I did have an issue with was that he didn't transform into something cool and otherworldly. Instead,
it was just armor.
He just looked like John Cleese wearing battle armor, and I'm like,
The armor looked cool though. It was still cool. I liked it.
No, it didn't. It just looked like an old guy wearing armor, and
it could have looked a lot better.
All I could think of was John Cleese wearing battle armor the entire time, and I'm thinking, this is supposed to be the big climactic fight. Are you kidding me?
The fight was really well done though.
But it took away from it. When you're watching her just fight this guy who looks like John Cleese wearing battle armor, it really takes you out. Like I said, if he transformed into something big and otherworldly, that would have been awesome. But instead we just get this hot young Wonder Woman fighting an old guy with battle armor. It's just like, really?
Yeah, I think they should have had like two actors play him. And she could, like you said, I would have been fine if he, pretending to be this old guy, but then coming to his, true form.
Yeah.
Because when you think of the gut Ares, you don't think of this like older gentleman. You think of this like young buff, like like Arnold back in his day or something like that.
The thing is, Mattel came out with the Collect and Connect figure, which looked amazing.
That's what I wanted to see.
Yeah.
look like that. Yeah, exactly. This is what it should have been like.
Yes.
So the other part of the ending that is, another spoiler here, and it's sad, but Steve Trevor has sacrificed himself because he had to destroy all the like what was it, the chemicals or whatever they were carrying, whatever they were making.
The gas.
They had to destroy that, and it was just really. He had to he had like a bomb in his plane, and he blew
he
up.
just had like a gun. I thought the gas was flammable, so he just had to shoot it, and then it would explode. That's what I thought. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Maybe, yeah, but I think the sacrifice was a cool, it was cool sacrifice, but it was sad because it was like his Wonder Woman, him had like a love thing going, and stuff, and they did have a
great connection.
They had a great connection. They did have that one night, So you folks can put two and two together.
Yeah. Now
I'll say he, I was afraid that it was going to be one of those things where Wonder Woman, got all the glory and everything, and he didn't really have much to do, but I was kind of glad to see that he died because he died a hero, and he got to prove himself as a hero in this movie, not just be Wonder Woman's sidekick.
Now there is one thing I do want to mention aside from the whole Ares thing that I did have a problem with, and no one seems to be picking up on this. I don't think anyone in the movie acted like this was a century ago. Everyone in the movie is acting like modern day people. The way they acted towards Diana, the way even Chris Pine as Steve Trevor's talking to her. I mean, in fact, the way Chris Pine as Steve Trevor acts the whole time, he acts like the awkward hunky guy, but that was kind of an invention of comedy from about 20 years ago. You certainly wouldn't have seen it a century ago. Absolutely not. So you really didn't get a lot of mannerisms or sensibilities from, last century. And, I mean, it's not a big takeaway thing, but for someone who's a history buff like me, you're gonna notice it as like, yeah, they're I mean, I kept thinking when I'm watching how they're treating her, I'm like, you would not have treated her this way under any circumstances. I know it's a fish out of water thing, but let's just say they went how we would think people would go off on people back then, not to the extent they actually would have.
You have to agree with you.
So that was like the one real issue that bothered me, aside from Ares.
But continuing on, something interesting that came about was that she never went back to her island, where she's from at the end there. And I just thought, well, maybe we'll see that in a future film, And that was the other thing, too, about, there's 100 years that went by between this. If you remember correctly, Batman gave her a suitcase. The thing is, there's been 100 years, maybe she went back, maybe she fought in World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam War, Persian Gulf War, whatever, maybe she fought in all these wars, maybe we'll see a sequel to it, but Tony, you said you had some final thoughts about, something about being hypocritical or some hypocrisy about
I thought the main message of the movie was a little hypocritical, it says, they try to stop war with love, but they ended up killing so many people, and she ended up, killing Ares at the end, even though she saved Dr. Poison for whatever reason, but ended up killing Ares. It's like I said, it reminded me of an episode of South Park, in which it was about Saddam Hussein having weapons of mass destruction, and then Stan's father saying that, if he's got weapons of mass destruction, we gotta stop him with our weapons of mass destruction, and that's how this movie seemed like to me. And it also reminded me of an episode of Justice League, in which it was called Hawk and Dove, in which guest starred Wonder Woman, and where Ares was also in this, and he created a magical armor called the Annihilator, and what fueled the Annihilator was war and aggression and stuff like this, and to stop him, you had to just stop, stop what you're doing, stop fighting and stuff. And that I felt that's how this movie should have ended, but then I felt that the anime series was better than, and also the anime movie was better than this movie. Now that doesn't mean I didn't like this movie. I still liked it, but that was one of my biggest problems with it. So, you want to give your final grade?
Yeah, I'll give my final grade. So, like I said, I enjoyed the beginning. I enjoyed the end. The middle was good, but there was things that could have been either shortened or cut. But it worked. It worked out well. And like I said, this is the right direction that DC's trying to go in. And at the end of the day, my grade's gonna be a solid B. Because it still was really well done. I still like what Patty Jenkins did. She did a very good job at her directing, and hopefully we'll see her on board for future movies. We'll see what happens.
Russell?
I'm going to give the movie an A-. I was that impressed with Gal Gadot's performance. They knew where to keep the focus. A lot of good humor, a lot of good, back and forth with the other characters, despite the fact that they, like I said before, they didn't really get the mannerisms of the time or sensibilities right. Still, it was just a great experience. They did what I wish they'd been doing with Superman, but at least they got it right with Wonder Woman, and to me that was very important. So, like I said, A- is what I'm going to go with on that one. And Tony?
And yeah, with most of our reviews, like I say, we're saying that Jay usually is the most optimistic person. And Russell's usually in the middle, and this time Russell seems to be the most optimistic. Jay's in the middle, but as usual, I'm the most pessimistic. So my grade is going to be a little bit lower than theirs. I still like the movie. I thought it was a step in the right direction for DC. I thought that the visuals was much more brighter. We actually got to see the sun this time. The overall feeling of the movie was more hopeful than the other DC movies, and it had humor in it, whereas some of the other DC movies didn't. Wonder Woman actually, she seemed more selfless than the other heroes like Batman and Superman. Batman and Superman seemed very selfish characters in the previous movies. Except for the problems I had, I thought it was a pretty good movie. So my final grade would be a B-. I'm Tony Beers.
Russ?
Jay.
And we'll see you next time.
This video is sponsored by the Crazy Kings of Toys. Check them out for all your toy needs and find out why they are so crazy. Find them on eBay, Bricklink, and Facebook. Links are in the description. For more Toxic Pop, visit our website at toxicpop1.wixsite.com/toxicpop. Email us at toxicpop1@gmail.com and check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/toxicpop1 and Instagram at instagram.com/wearetoxicpop. Links are in the description.